Shalom, my name is Yeshua Yaakov Ben Avraham. I'm making this video from Jerusalem. I'm a didactic scientist, the author of the trilogy Humanomics, comprised of the new its new central organizing principle, receive it to give, which is the new cognitive behavioral science first principle, the new economic paradigm, the integration of labor, and it is the solution, the macroeconomic solution to the crisis in the U.S. economy. And I'll get back to that in a moment. I want to say a couple of things in terms of a general statement and then refer to an extraordinary world-class revolution in science that is actually now occurring and going forward, that is changing man and mankind. But I'll be focused first in saying these few statements. First, the oil, gold, and silver is not the future of man and mankind anymore, is the swapping of complex instruments that brought the subprime and the housing credit meltdown on Wall Street. The future really is faith in God and closeness to God, human education, growth and development, and world-class science. Those are the things that are the actual future. So therefore what? I've been asked as the didactic scientist and author of the trilogy Humanomics, which is the new East-West convergence model, which is the 21st and 22nd century anthropocentric science, which means man-centered. That's what's missing in science, the need for a man-centered science. It's comprised, again, of two paradigms, the cognitive behavioral and the economic first principle, the integration of labor and receive it to give. The first is the cognitive behavioral science. That's its central organizing principle. Okay, therefore, in perspective, I've been asked to comment, and so I am commenting. And Warren and Henry and a number of other people and John McCain and you're all connected. You got the blindfold on, and you all have contact with the elephant, just various different parts. Okay. Now, having said that, no bailout, absolutely no bailout. Why? It will not bring a solution. Number one. Number two, it's micromanaging a very big problem when the cause is more underlying, more fundamental. Do not bail out Wall Street to the tune of $700 billion. I would say buy time and slowly prepare yourselves for a transition. Put in 10 billion, 20 billion, 30 billion, 50 billion, 80 billion, 100 billion, but layout, slowly, okay, forward. You're going to have to take up a supply side, 2 trillion with 3 trillion coming from the G9 for a total of 5 trillion to develop Humanomics in general and its new world-class global technological infrastructure based upon the new economic paradigm. For America, that's a 2 trillion investment amortized over 20 years. It'll take the economy from a, from a present level of 14 trillion to around 45 to 50 trillion. My friend, this is the solution. All of my friends, let's all get on the same page. The bailout is a lose-lose. It's the how we get out of, and what do we end up with? We end up with, when we figured out how to get out of the problem. Well, the fact of the matter is, folks, when we get out of the problem, we're still with the same big problem. And it's a bucket with lots of holes in the bottom. Okay, the bottom line is we need a what? And the question is, why did this happen? And God brought the collapse of the local reality on America in general and Wall Street in particular. And the humiliation that hit Wall Street is going to hit Washington if you don't listen. And that is, we're going to have to undertake a massive NASA-like Boulder Dam supply side, massive national supply side project, and that's the 2 trillion investment amortized over 20 years to transform the structure of the economy, retool, re-educate, and retrain the entire workforce. The Virginia model being the underlying delivery of the new economic paradigm for every state in the United States. Okay, now on the science side, we're going to see, and we're seeing right now, as a result of an event that most people don't understand, which is the collapse of the local reality. We're seeing a fundamental transformation. We're going to see new sciences emerge. And that's why we need this global technological infrastructure. The transformation of the economy, which is now 60, consumer spending 60%, and housing 40%. In a decade and a half, we're going to see Humanomics and new sunrise industries of science and technology running at 60% of the economy, 25% of the economy, consumer spending 15%, housing. That's the goal. That's where we're going with Humanomics in general and its new economic paradigm as world-class global technological infrastructure. Okay, the revolution that is going to change man and mankind is in New Eurogen is the name of the new white space science. It's going to combine genetics and neuroscience. We have realized in the collapse of local reality the end of man's exile. And what does this mean? It means if you look into the brain, and in the brain you see all of the frontal lobe, the parietal lobe, the temporal lobe, the occipital lobe, the cerebellum, the brain stem, and we go in and look at the inside, we see the corpus callosum, olfactory bulb, anterior, cingulate, gyrus, thalamus, hypothalamus, amygdala, hippocampus, and basal ganglia. When we look at all of the elements inside of the brain, guess what? The corpus callosum is the authentic man. And we have learned that the functionality of the brain and the duality of man's exile is found in the anterior cingulate gyrus, which intercepts the signals to the entire exterior hemisphere of the brain and all of its parts, which I've spoken of earlier. And referring to them, they are again the frontal lobe, the parietal, temporal, occipital lobe, cerebellum, and the brainstem. All of the communications to those exterior brain hemisphere from the interior structure, which is presently operating, it is dysfunctional. A revolution of unprecedented. The collapse of the local reality deals with the fundamental transformation in every human being, in the brain of every human being. And I'll repeat it if you didn't get it. The corpus callosum is going to be activated, and the anterior cingulate gyrus will be neutralized from inhibiting and preventing direct cerebral signal context that is now deflected and obfuscated as a result of man's exile. Okay, I cannot go into the esoteric meanings. A revolution of extraordinary monumental proportions is at hand. Folks, I'll repeat, no bailout. Let's go forward into the brave new world. Humanomics is the new East-West convergence model. Its central organizing principle is receiving to give. And its central technology is identity resolution that has to do with this revolution in genetics and neuroscience rooted in the brain. A transformation in the brain chemistry, in the brain structure will remain the same, but its functionality will be transformed and we'll have access. We're using less than 1% of the cognitive capacity of the human brain. We're going to use 99 and 100% of that capacity over the decades and century ahead. This is the revolution. It requires a new global technological infrastructure. Folks, let's get on with it. Thank you for listening. I'm Yeshua Yaakov, a didactic scientist, the author of Humanomics in general, and its new central organizing principle receiving. Thank you for listening. Blessings and shalom to Warren out there in Omaha, Nebraska. I'll get back to you, Warren.